Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. This morning's briefing is about the difference between promises and posturing. Now, the thumbnail for this video may show you Donald Trump and Joe Biden, but there's a lot more arenas where this kind of thing is relevant. I've long said that there's three arenas of society that black folks just don't handle very well: religion, politics, and entertainment, which includes sports, by the way. This is why I'm not real big on discussing things like TV shows and movies and pop culture, because black people already overdose on those things now, and worse than that, we look at it in such a facile, superficial way. We start off talking about Kyrie Irving flipping the script on Josiah, and before you know it, I got folks in the comment section talking about how the Brooklyn Nets need to bring in another point guard, who's going to be the top pick in the draft, and who's going to go all the way to the championship this year. Goes off the rails real quick. But the same thing goes for the Oscars. We start off talking about black people not being in control of our images and how award shows are used to credentialize anti-black figures and propaganda, and before you know it, people are talking about how great thus-and-so actor is and what movie should have won Best Picture. We forget that these awards are meaningless, except to the extent that the white media can shape, or rather mangle, public perception about what is worthy in the public mind. But they put a lot of time and effort into building the prestige of getting their award, because it's the only ceremony that acts as if getting a gold statuette is akin to having a coronation. It's all very seductive, intentionally so, but it's not substantive. Recognition is important, and that's about the only saving grace that these award shows have. But recognition means nothing without power, and their awards don't give us any power. I posted yesterday how Angela Bassett was snubbed for an Oscar yet again, no surprise, and if you were surprised by that, I don't know what to do with you. Of course, she wasn't going to win. The Academy and the white media have been telegraphing that one from a mile away. But we all know the real reason Angela Bassett hasn't won an Oscar, and she's not going to get one unless it's a Lifetime Achievement Oscar or something. All Angela Bassett had to do was to boonk over like Halle Berry did in Monsters Ball, something of that nature, and why, that Oscar would have been hers. Just play the part of a bottom feeder for the amusement of the racist white media moguls, and they would have given her an Oscar ages ago. Just do something that is degrading or subservient, which are flip sides of the exact same coin. She was offered the Halle Berry role in Monsters Ball, and she turned it down flat, said she didn't want to be a prostitute. See, those white media moguls, they had been grooming her up until that point. She played the abused wife in that Tina Turner movie. Then she played the angry ex-wife in Waiting to Exhale, whose husband had done her wrong. See, they thought that after having her portray a black woman who had been abused and betrayed by black men a couple of times, that she would internalize that and then be willing to be the whore for a white protagonist in one of their movies, and she told them no. White supremacists don't believe in taking an L, so they've been basically punishing her ever since. Angela Bassett still works, but they made it clear she'll never be the A-list leading lady that she actually is, and if nothing else, they can deny her the recognition from the industry that she works in. They own the studios, they own the networks, the auditoriums where the award shows take place. It's a totally closed media ecosystem. When they nominate her for an award, it's not to honor her. It's to see the look on her face when they give it to someone else. White supremacists love a cruel prank, especially one that takes a long time to pay off. That makes it sweeter for them. And that's the reason why the preeminent white power apparatus of the day, Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, made sure to attack Angela Bassett personally because she didn't jump for joy when Jamie Lee Curtis got the Oscar. Granted, these are insults and slights, but it's not new either. Black people are oversampled when it comes to entertainment, which is why we take what happens in that sphere far more seriously than we should. We're serious about the aspects of the entertainment world that don't matter, and we're oblivious to the ones that do. And that can be dangerous, because when these subjects get raised, there's some of us, our collective intelligence drops 20 points or so, and we revert to being mind-numbed consumers. I'm not going to stop talking about these issues, but for those of you who wonder why I don't tackle these things more often, this is part of the reason why. We need our discourse to remain at a high level. I personally have contempt for all the institutions of white supremacy, all of the things that it controls. And even if a black person owns a media company, it means very little if they don't operate in black people's interests. I can respect Tyler Perry's hustle, but I have nothing but contempt for his company and for him because of the images and narratives that he puts out. And what's he doing with his position? Same thing Bob Johnson did. He's looking out for number one. That's not in black people's interest. That's just a vanity project. Though I would say if black people focused on building our own studios, we wouldn't be caring so much about who gets an Oscar. It's not about getting what you want, it's about getting what you need. And also being discerning enough where you're realistic about who you can actually get what you need from and who it is who's just dangling a carrot in front of you that you're never going to get. In his attempts to show how much skill he has, the Orange Menace is promising that he and he alone can avert World War III. Well, you got to give the guy credit. He knows how to up the ante. Before it was a matter of I and I alone can turn around the economy and the crime and all the rest of it. Well, as we all know, he didn't do anything for crime and didn't do much of anything for the economy either. But now he's saying I alone can save the entire world. I guess he figured I alone can fix it worked for him 7 years ago. It ought to be good for at least one more election cycle. Well, if he expects to recapture the presidency, I think he's going to have to come up with some new material, though, because frankly, saving us from World War III doesn't seem to be anyone's most pressing issue at the moment. And given how many of his companies have gone under, I wouldn't bet my planet on that promise. But ridiculous as it is, at least Agent Orange was telling his supporters what he would actually do for them. Trump is also promising something else, too, to be the retribution of his supporters. This isn't an election for him, it's a vendetta. And considering that the Trump base are the people who this country has handed everything to for hundreds of years, the people who work the least, do the least, but somehow feel justified complaining the most, this is exactly the kind of red meat they want. They don't have a legitimate gripe. They only have petty imaginary grievances, which mostly come down to we don't feel secure because we only get 98% of all the attention as opposed to the 100% that we've become accustomed to, so somebody needs to fix this. You know, whiny babies are supposed to be sent to their doggone rooms without dinner. Instead, what's happening is we're allowing the good-for-nothings to eat everybody else's lunch. This is the Karenization of the electorate, proceeding apace. The white right didn't get what they wanted, so they're looking for a manager to complain to. Yeah, Trump is promising to get even with, well, everyone it seems. And it certainly doesn't make for good government, but at least he's promising to actually do something for his supporters. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is still pursuing what is clearly the Democrats' new policy platform. Tell people how racist, fascist, and regressive the Republicans are, and you gotta vote blue or the GOP will put you in labor camps. Now, at no point do the Democrats promise to reverse or even to fight back against all these laws that they've been allowing these GOP state legislatures to pass. Absolutely nothing about undoing the damage that the GOP has done. Simply the same old, see how fascist the Republicans are. They're too dangerous for you to allow them into public office. And this is deliberate because by pretending to be helpless to undo the damage that the Republicans have caused, Democrats get to see the elements inside their own base being attacked and undermined, which is what the Democrats want. If you're in a position where you can't directly attack your own constituents, just go ahead and sit back and do nothing and let your political opponents do it for you. Democrats only differ from Republicans in terms of their rhetoric. But when it comes to every other arena that matters, they're in complete agreement. You see time and again that when Democrats propose legislation, Republicans unanimously vote against it. But when Republicans propose legislation, even when they're the minority, you always seem to have more than a few Democrats who go right along with it. About the only exception I can think of, off the top of my head, is the gay marriage law that the Congress passed back in December. Republicans voted for it too, and this in the middle of a lame duck congressional session, only a few weeks before the Republicans were set to swear in a majority. So this was something that both parties wanted. The Republicans wanted this to pass, but they wanted to do it in a way that wasn't going to cost them politically. So no matter what the Republicans' rhetoric about gay marriage may have been when it came down to it, they had no problem voting for it. Seems the only time they become gridlocked is when it's something that might benefit black people. Democrats will be the majority in both houses of Congress, but still can't get anything brought to the floor for a vote for us. Gee, if you didn't know better, you'd swear that there was an overarching slate of policies that both political parties are devoted to. They all go to the same schools, live in the same neighborhoods, they're part of the same clubs, and often are married to the same people, and they all get their money from the same donors. The similarities between the two major parties far outweigh the differences. The Democrats aren't promising any payback or even to get tough on all this Republican violation of the Constitution. When your constituents are under attack, you're supposed to protect them. At least that's what you would think. So keep this in mind when you have your favorite left-wing pundits telling you about all the wrong the Republicans are doing. Democrats are there. Democrats have got control of state legislatures. They just got through taking back the Michigan legislature. Do you see them undoing any of all of that anti-black policies that the Republicans put on the books in that state? Do you see them retaliating against the Republicans for all of these anti-black racist laws that they've been passing in other states? Or do you see them just saying, vote for us? And I'm going to be hammering this point a lot over the coming months because black people got scared 3 years ago. Hell, they were terrified 7 years ago. What's happening is that one party is trying to get our vote free of charge. And worse than that, as they see it, their job is to make us sit on our hands while our position is weakened by the very people who they claim that they want to try to stop. None of them is promising to reverse any of these things or to even begin a campaign of legislative reprisals. All they're doing is giving us the broken record about how if we vote for them, there won't be any additional laws passed against us. Well, that is, unless a few Democrats decide to go along with it, because they usually do. So, that's the choice as it stands going into the primary season. On the one hand, you've got a candidate promising retribution, against us, of course, and you got the other who's promising nothing whatsoever. He won't even promise to up the ante by making sure that all of these right-wing racists have to live under the exact same political conditions that they're attempting to inflict on other people. He won't even promise to protect his own constituents, and nobody else in his party will either. So remind me again why I'm supposed to be so eager to vote for these guys next year? To vote for people who are literally telling us that they won't lift a finger on our behalf. Well, since that's the Democrats' platform for 2024, at least one thing's for sure. No matter what happens, we'll be able to say they promised us nothing and kept their word. Good day and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Aisha Sarpong, Jonte Pegg, Henry Fair, Akmal Griffith, and Naji95. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.